I still remember the exact moment I said it. We were sitting in the living room, not even arguing, just talking, or at least trying to. He had asked me why I'd been distant lately. His voice was calm, gentle even, like he really wanted to understand, and I just snapped. You were my last option, I said. The words came out sharper than I expected. I didn't mean to hurt him like that. I didn't even plan to say it. But it was like all the pressure I'd been holding inside finally found the fastest way out. I wanted him to know how tired I was, how exhausted I'd been trying to find love, to find someone. Every guy before him had disappointed me, lied, cheated, ghosted me without explanation. And then there was him, kind, steady, always there. But instead of telling him I appreciated that, I made it sound like he was the leftover choice. He didn't say anything, not one word. He just stared at me for a second. His expression didn't change, but I saw something in his eyes, like something quietly broke. Then he stood up, walked out of the room, and closed the door behind him. No yelling, no slamming anything, just quiet disappointment. I sat there frozen. At first I thought he just needed time. Maybe a walk, maybe a night to cool off. But he didn't come back that night, and the next morning his side of the bed was still untouched. I checked my phone, no message, no missed call. That's when the sinking feeling really set in. People think relationships end with loud fights, with screaming and tears, but sometimes they end with silence, with one sentence you can't take back, with a man walking out of a room and never looking at you the same way again. I didn't mean to say it like that. I was scared of being alone. I was scared of settling, but more than that, I was scared that he might realize he deserved better. And maybe, in that moment, he did. Every morning he brought me coffee in bed, always the same way, 2 sugars, splash of oat milk, just how I liked it. I never had to ask. He just remembered. Some mornings I barely even looked up when he placed the mug on the nightstand. I'd mumble a soft thanks and scroll through my phone, but he'd smile anyway and start his day. I folded his shirts every Sunday evening. He liked them crisp, lined up by color. He never asked me to do it, I just did. It was our quiet routine, no drama, no big gestures, just the small things we thought meant something. We didn't fight much, not like other couples. My friends were always venting about their husbands, cheating, lying, forgetting birthdays, disappearing for hours. I used to feel lucky listening to them. At least mine came home. At least he asked me how my day was. At least he didn't make me cry. But over time, I started feeling blank. Like the silence between us wasn't peaceful anymore. It was just silence. We'd eat dinner side by side, both on our phones, barely speaking. We'd go to bed without a kiss some nights, and neither of us would notice. I started asking myself questions I wish I hadn't. Is this it? Is this what love turns into after a few years? A routine? No spark? No fire? No butterflies? I kept thinking maybe I was the problem. Maybe I was expecting too much. But then I'd hear stories about spontaneous weekend trips, passionate fights that ended in kisses, husbands who made their wives feel wanted, needed, adored. And I'd look at him, sweet, stable, quiet him. And the worst thought came to mind. Did I settle? Once that question entered my head, it refused to leave. Every little thing he did started to feel ordinary. His good habits turned invisible. His calm voice started to annoy me. His predictability felt like a cage instead of comfort. I didn't talk to him about it. I didn't tell him I felt stuck. I didn't ask for more. I just let the doubt grow, like a crack in glass. It was small at first. Then one day, it split everything wide open. He made spaghetti that night. It was his favorite meal to cook. He always added fresh garlic and chopped basil, the way his mom taught him. The kitchen smelled warm and familiar, but I barely noticed. He set the plates down, poured me a glass of wine, and sat across from me like he always did. He looked up, smiled a little, and asked, "Long day?" I nodded, didn't say much. We ate mostly in silence. He kept glancing at me between bites, like he wanted to ask something. Finally, he put his fork down and leaned forward slightly. "Is something wrong?" I shrugged. I'm just tired." He waited. He was always patient like that, gave me space, never pushed too hard. But that night, his quiet made me feel more annoyed than cared for. "You've been distant lately," he said, voice soft. I stared at my plate, then said without thinking, I guess I've just been thinking. About what? And then it happened. You were never my first choice. You were just the only one who didn't leave. The words fell out of my mouth like they'd been waiting for months. His face didn't change at first. He just sat there, very still. The silence between us got thick, the kind that presses against your chest and makes it hard to breathe. I looked up. His eyes had gone blank, not angry, not sad, just empty, like I'd reached in and flipped a switch off. Thanks for the honesty, he said quietly. Then he stood up, picked up his plate, carried it to the sink, rinsed it, wiped his hands with the towel by the window. He didn't yell. He didn't ask why I said it. He didn't even look back at me. He just grabbed his keys from the counter, opened the front door, and walked out. The door closed gently. No slam, no final word. I sat there for a while, not even sure what had just happened. I thought maybe he just needed some air, maybe an hour, 2 at most. But the clock ticked past midnight, the bed stayed cold, his phone stayed silent, and I realized I might have just broken something I couldn't fix. The house was too quiet, the kind of silence that made every little sound louder, clock ticking, fridge humming, wind brushing against the windows. I kept glancing at my phone, no messages, no missed calls. I opened our chat and stared at the last thing I sent. Are you okay? Still no reply. I lay on the bed, eyes wide open, covers pulled to my chin. His pillow was untouched. It still smelled like him. I turned toward the empty space beside me and whispered, Where are you? Sleep didn't come. My mind wouldn't stop. I kept replaying our first trip together, the one to the mountains. We had stayed in this tiny wooden cabin. It rained the whole weekend and we barely left. He made hot chocolate from scratch, played cards with me by the fire, and told me he didn't care if we ever went home. He said, This is all I need, you and this moment. I remembered how he used to bring movie snacks to bed, popcorn and candy mixed in one bowl. How we'd lie there under the blanket, laughing at dumb rom-coms. How he always watched my face during the sad parts instead of the screen. And how every time I felt insecure, ugly, or lost, he would hold my face in his hands and say, I'm lucky to have you. You don't even know. I thought about those moments and felt something heavy in my chest, like something tightening, wrapping around my heart. Regret. I got up and walked to the bathroom, flipped the light on. The mirror didn't lie. My eyes were puffy, my lips dry, hair tied up carelessly, just like my attitude had been the last few weeks. I stared at myself, really stared, and for the first time since he left, I didn't feel angry or sad or confused. I felt guilty, because maybe he wasn't boring, maybe he wasn't a backup plan, maybe he was the best man I ever had, maybe he was my chance at something real, and I threw it away trying to chase a feeling that didn't exist. I reached for my phone again and called. No answer, just voicemail. I didn't leave a message. What would I even say? I didn't mean it. He probably wouldn't believe me anyway. I went to his office during lunch hour. The receptionist gave me a polite smile, then said, He's on leave. Personal time. She didn't ask any questions, and I didn't offer any answers. I just nodded and walked out, my stomach twisting. The next day, I stopped by the cafe near his gym, the one he used to visit every Friday after his morning workout. The barista remembered him right away. Oh yeah, he's been coming in a lot lately. Quiet though, just grabs his drink and sits by the window for a while. Doesn't talk much. I smiled weakly. Thanks. I walked past the cafe window, hoping maybe I'd see him sitting there. But he wasn't. That night I sat on the edge of our bed and wrote a message. A long one. I'm sorry. I was cruel. I was stupid. I didn't mean it the way it sounded. You were never just an option. You were everything stable in a world that made me feel lost. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I know I miss you. Please come home. I hit send, then I waited. An hour passed, 2, a whole night, no reply. His side of the bed stayed untouched, just like the night he left. The sheets still tucked in, his pillow untouched. I stopped straightening it. I didn't change the sheets. It didn't feel right. The house started to feel different, like it wasn't mine anymore. His laughter used to fill the rooms. His footsteps, his voice, his humming while doing the dishes, all gone. Everything felt colder, quieter. I walked through the kitchen and opened a drawer just to see if he had taken his keys. He hadn't. I opened the closet. His jackets were still hanging there, lined up neatly. But the smell was fading. I sat down on the couch and stared at the spot where he usually sat, legs up on the coffee table, remote in hand, that small dip in the cushion where his weight used to be felt like a missing piece. There were no broken dishes, no yelling, no dramatic goodbye, just absence and silence. Maybe this is what heartbreak really looks like. Not messy or loud, just empty, just gone. I was on my way to the pharmacy when I saw him. He was walking down the sidewalk, hands in his pockets, wearing that gray jacket I bought him last winter. He looked different, lighter, like someone had taken a weight off his shoulders. Then I saw her. She was walking beside him. Long coat, dark hair, bright eyes. She laughed at something he said, tilting her head back just slightly. He smiled wide, the way he used to with me. They weren't holding hands, but their steps matched perfectly, close, comfortable, like they'd done this before. My chest tightened. I slowed down. He looked happy, not just okay, not just moving on, truly happy. I followed them without thinking, a few steps behind, not close enough to be seen, but close enough to watch. They turned the corner, and when I reached it, I stopped. They were standing in front of that place, our favorite restaurant, the one where we used to go every month, no matter what. The one where he once stood up in the middle of dinner just to slow dance with me because our song came on. He opened the door for her. She laughed again. He smiled and followed her in. I stood there staring. People walked past me, busy with their lives. Cars drove by, horns honking, but I didn't hear any of it. Just the ringing in my ears. I wanted to go inside. I wanted to march up to their table and scream. That was our spot. I wanted to ask him how he moved on so easily, how he could smile like that with someone new when I couldn't even breathe right without him, but I didn't. I turned around and walked away. My legs felt heavy. My throat burned. I bit the inside of my cheek until I tasted blood. I walked for a long time without knowing where I was going. He looked so free, so alive, and all I could think was maybe I was the one who weighed him down. I sent the message without overthinking. "Can we talk?" he replied after 2 hours. "Tomorrow, 6 p.m. Corner Cafe." Not at home. Not where we used to share mornings. Somewhere neutral, public, safe. I got there early. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I kept playing with the edge of the napkin, folding and unfolding it. He walked in 5 minutes late. Calm, clean-shaven, that same gray jacket. He looked like him, but not really. There was something colder in his face. He sat down across from me without a smile. "Thanks for coming," I said. He nodded once. "You wanted to talk?" I looked at him and felt everything I'd been holding in crash over me. "I'm sorry," I said. I didn't mean what I said that night. I was angry, tired. I didn't choose the right words. He looked down at the table. "But you said them." I reached for his hand, but he didn't move. "I was scared," I whispered. "I didn't mean to hurt you." He looked up at me then, eyes steady. "But you did." And I've played those words in my head more times than I want to admit. You were my last option. Do you know what that does to someone? I opened my mouth, but he held up his hand. "I loved you," he continued. "I gave you everything I had. I didn't need to be your first choice, but I at least wanted to feel like I mattered." "You do," I said quickly. "You always did." He shook his head. "Not in that moment, and that moment changed everything." I felt the sting behind my eyes. "Can't we try again?" He let out a soft breath. "I'm seeing someone." Silence. Just that one sentence hanging in the air. "She makes me feel different," he added. "Not better, just seen, chosen, like I'm not someone she settled for." I looked away. "I didn't plan it," he said, "but it happened, and it feels right." I nodded slowly. My throat was dry. "I don't hate you," he said softly, "but I can't come back." I blinked hard. "I understand." He stood up. "Take care of yourself." And just like that, he walked out of my life again. I sat on the kitchen floor, back against the cabinets, my knees pulled to my chest. The hum of the fridge was the only sound. The silence wasn't just in the room, it was inside me too. I kept thinking about that night over and over, the way he looked at me after I said it. Not angry, just gone. I used to say I felt stuck, that our marriage felt like routine, that he didn't make my heart race anymore. But the truth was, I didn't feel stuck with him. I felt stuck with myself. I had been walking around with this emptiness I didn't know how to name. I thought it was boredom. I thought it was him. It wasn't. He gave me everything I said I wanted. A man who stayed, who listened, who brought me coffee every morning, even when I forgot to say thank you, who texted me to check if I got home safe, who kissed my forehead when I was too tired to talk. And I told myself that wasn't enough. I convinced myself that love had to feel like fireworks all the time, that comfort wasn't passion, that his quiet way of loving me meant he didn't love me deeply. I blamed him for a loneliness he didn't cause. I wanted more without knowing what more even meant. Now I do. More is someone who sees you even when you stop seeing yourself. Someone who stays when you're not easy to love. He was more. I just didn't see it until I lost him. I used to think love needed drama, tension, sparks, but now I realize love was the way he always filled my gas tank without telling me, the way he remembered my mom's birthday, the way he never forgot how I liked my tea. That wasn't boring, that was rare. I searched for something that was never missing. I chased a feeling I thought was out there, not realizing I already had it, right in front of me. And now, no matter how many nights I cry, how many memories I replay, it won't change one fact. He's gone, and it's my fault. I heard from a mutual friend that they're serious now. They've been together a few months, and it's moving fast. People say she's good for him, that she's gentle, funny, warm, the kind of woman who makes a man feel wanted. Someone mentioned they might be moving in together, that she even brought him to meet her parents. I didn't ask for the details. I just nodded and smiled like it didn't matter. I deleted all the dating apps. I tried once or twice to meet new people, but I couldn't go through with it. I'd sit at dinner with someone and compare everything. The way they talked, the way they held their fork, the way they didn't know me. No one knew me the way he did. I wake up every morning and reach for the other side of the bed, even though I know it's empty. I sit in the kitchen with my coffee and think about all the times like he sat across from me, telling stories I half listened to. Now I'd give anything to hear them again. There's a sentence I can't stop hearing. It plays in my mind like a broken record, over and over. You were my last option. It was supposed to be a moment of honesty, but it came out cruel. It came out like a final blow. And the truth is, it wasn't even true. He wasn't my last option. He was the only one who stayed, the only one who kept showing up, who loved me without needing me to perform or pretend. He didn't try to change me. He just made space for me. Even when I didn't know how to be soft, he was gentle. He was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I broke him. Not with betrayal, not with lies, but with careless words. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd just said what I really felt that night. If I'd said, I'm scared I'll ruin something good, instead of pushing him away. But regret doesn't change anything. It just sits with you every day like a shadow. And now he belongs to someone else. I sat at the desk with a pen in my hand, the paper in front of me blank for almost an hour. I kept starting and stopping, crossing out lines that didn't sound right, erasing sentences that felt too small. Then I took a breath and just wrote. You were never my last option. I stared at the words for a long time. You were the only man who ever made me feel safe, the only one who showed up for me, even when I gave you every reason not to. I'm sorry I realized it too late. The tears came quietly, not loud or messy, just soft, slow. I thought love had to be hard, full of fire and drama. I thought the quiet kind wasn't real. I was wrong. Your love was steady, honest, gentle, and I took it for granted. I paused, pressing the pen to my lips. Then I kept writing. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't want anything from you. I just want you to know. I see it now. All of it. Everything you were. Everything I lost. She's lucky. I hope she knows it. I signed my name and folded the letter carefully. I didn't seal it. I didn't address it. I placed it inside the box at the back of the closet. The same box where I kept his old coffee mug, the one with the chipped handle, and the photo from our trip to the mountains. The one where we were both laughing, rain pouring in the background, soaked but happy. I ran my fingers across the edges of the picture. Some people get a second chance. Some people get to fix what they broke. But not everyone. Some love stories don't end with a kiss or a reunion. Some end quietly, with a letter never sent and a heart that learned too late. I closed the box gently and pushed it back into the dark. It was time to stop hoping, time to carry the lesson and let him go.